Welcome to the Experts and Expats podcast. I'm Jeffrey Jones.
And I'm Michelle Hippler. We're co-founders of the Living Abroad Academy. We focus on the information Americans need to plan a move to Europe on a faster timeline than the one we experienced.
We cover all the best visas to explore, along with financial and social considerations that will help you determine what country
or countries
might be the right fit for you and your circumstances.
Absolutely. A country might look great on paper, but not turn out to be what you expected. So we talk to expats about their experiences and experts about their particular expertise in their country.
All with a goal to get you as much information as possible to make an informed decision. Today we have two American expats with us, Lisa Valenzuela and Ian Stock. Hi, Lisa and Ian. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Jeffrey.
Hey there.
Hey, Michelle.
They're married and both retired professionals living in rural France and the south of Spain, splitting their time between the locations. They love exploring Europe and the UK, and take it from me, Lisa is often posting beautiful photos from their travels in her social media. They have children living in the U.S., in California, Connecticut, and then in Europe, in London, Athens, and Nantes. Quite a spread of cities. So a personal detail, I know Lisa from Northern California from many years back. She shared many encouraging words as I was researching my move to Europe last couple of years. It's definitely been helpful to have that kind of positive feedback, and it's really great to see someone else you know making and enjoying a move like you both are doing. So you two, we've got some questions about your path to Europe, so if you don't mind, we'll just jump right in.
Great.
We're here.
Awesome. So tell us more specifically what your current situation is. You've got two countries, you're both retired. Just tell us a little bit about how you're handling all that.
Well, Ian, you want to start out? Yeah.
Okay, so I started out here in Brittany after retiring. It was a choice between South Devon and Northwest France, because I was born and raised in the UK. I decided I wanted to be here and bought a place. It was 2 visits. It took me 2 visits to find a suitable place and put the deposit on, and all that stuff. I had an advantage in that I had worked in Paris for 10 years during my career.
Okay.
So I'd gone through French bureaucracy, which is quite challenging at times. And I'd learned the language, which is equally challenging at times, right? So when I got here, settling in was not the challenge that it would be for a newbie.
Right.
Lisa, then, I sort of imported her.
Yeah, we have kind of an interesting relationship story in that Ian and I knew each other in Santa Cruz, California. So Ian is a naturalized American citizen and lived in the States for 40 years or so?
35.
Yeah.
35.
And he is still a semi-retired attorney. So we met when we were both working. We met at a co-working location. And
next space in Santa Cruz.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Know that place.
So, and we were friends then. And then I left that job and didn't really see much of Ian after that. And then you moved.
Right. I moved over here and then you called me looking
Yeah. So I was looking for some legal advice. My marriage had ended and I was looking for advice for a local attorney. So I called Ian in France and then we started talking like every day for hours. So we started, kind of an online relationship, but we really we had known each other. So we talked for several months, right?
Yeah. And then we met up. We somehow managed to get to both in New York at the same time.
Yeah. So I went to go.
Okay.
I have a daughter who lives in Connecticut. But she was in
Jersey City.
Yeah, she was in Jersey City at the time. So I was visiting her, and Ian came over, and we met up in New York, and then so we kind of started a real relationship, and we did about 8 months of long distance, which was really crazy and expensive. Anyway, so we were doing this back and forth. And then decided in November of that year that I would come over and live here for a while. So, that happened. And I came, had my first Christmas here, which was just lovely. We met quite a number of expats. So I don't know any Americans here, but lots of British expats. And actually, my best girlfriend is Scottish. So we
Mhm.
do have a little group of expats that we meet almost weekly.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a little pub.
Yeah.
Had a lovely Christmas. And so then decided, I was on the 3 month.
Yeah, we went through
there
a
was-
pandemic crisis,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
right.
we know that.
and
Yeah.
everybody did, right? And
Yep.
so Lisa was running out of her, she had 90 days, in the EU without, she had an appointment in San Francisco on March the 16th, 2020, to extend that 90 days.
Mhm.
March the 12th, President Trump duly announced that Europeans were no longer welcome in the US.
Oh,
Nobody knew
geez.
what that meant.
Good Lord.
Right.
We were American, but it's like, well, can we go back?
was actually at the airport
We were
when,
at the airport when we found
Of
this
course.
out.
Yeah.
and yeah, Air France, when people, longest queue that you could imagine, people
Oh, geez.
crying. When we got to the front of the line, they said, well, the only thing we can guarantee is that this flight will take off,
To San
but we
Francisco.
can't guarantee that.
In 3 weeks, we'll be able to fly
Yeah,
you back,
yeah,
which
there's
we
no
had
guarantee.
we had return tickets in 3
Yeah.
weeks. It was like,
So,
Crazy.
I was just, it literally frozen. I didn't know what to do because I knew I couldn't stay in France any longer. I mean, there's some really severe repercussions if you outstay your visa, especially in
Oh.
modern times with,
Yeah,
computerized
yeah.
everything. And Ian, didn't have a house any longer or a place to stay. And
in
so,
California.
he's like, well, I can't go. And I'm like, I can't stay. And
Oh my goodness.
yeah, so.
How did we resolve it? How did we resolve? So we're standing at the check-in counter, and I said, "Well, we could always get married."
Oh.
Pandemic marriage, right?
And she said, "Was that a proposal?"
Who has the movie rights to this? This is
Yeah. So fortunately, Ian, already having lived in, France for a decade during his life and also being an attorney, knew people and he was able to contact an immigration attorney
Mhm.
who helped kind of grease the wheels. And it
and,
wasn't
and the French bureaucrats, to be fair to them, were very decent about it.
well,
Mhm.
the past.
Nice.
George, I know it. They said, "We get it. We understand." They knew that they saw the date of the flight. They knew the
Mhm.
date of the announcement from President Trump. So, it
Mhm.
was
Right.
very well, it was fairly treated, I gotta say.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Nice.
despite it being the pandemic and everything screeching to a halt, which really, if anybody had to deal with any bureaucracies during the pandemic, it was just a nightmare. But my stay was extended until August of 2020, and I flew back to California. And then Ian came a few weeks later, and
Got married.
we had a
Yay.
wedding in Lake Tahoe, which not only was it in the middle of a pandemic, but also the fires were going.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was quite a time.
Yeah, but
We were allowed to have 10 people total, including ourselves at the wedding, and we were the only ones who were allowed to be unmasked.
Wow.
So then we came back to France, and I know people had some really awful times during the pandemic, but we were very fortunate in that we got to travel all around France during the lockdown, and it was quite lovely to have the country just be full of French people and not to have huge lines and stuff. How long did it take before I actually got?
Legit.
Yeah, it wasn't too long after.
It wasn't too long. I think
Yeah.
it was about 8 months after the wedding.
Yeah. So,
I think
Okay.
about April, May. Yeah, there you
Mhm.
go.
and it felt very good. That was one of my happiest moments when I got my residence card.
Sure is, isn't it? I remember that too. Like, look at what a beautiful piece of plastic. Like,
Yeah. It's like I'm legit now. So, that's great.
it's a great thing.
Yeah.
It
Yep.
is.
Very cool.
And one of the reasons that we get along so well is we do like to travel. And that's been our high spot of retiring to Europe. Because as a kid, we went on occasional family holidays from England. Maybe 3, I think, in total, 2 in Italy, 1 in Belgium. But since we've been living here, we're able to explore all over.
Yeah.
Right.
The lovely things about being on the continent is that travel is like people think that we are
Jet
wealthy
setters.
or something. And we really, really travel very inexpensively, but everything's so close that we're able to go so many places literally on the cheap. It's
Literally on the cheap.
just lovely.
It's beautiful with those cheap airlines and trains, and you can do this stuff on the weekends. You don't have to have 1 or 2 weeks a year where you.
That's right.
We just got back. We spent 5 days in Rome, and it was just this little bargain because it's November.
Yes.
So, it was still, Rome was still fairly crowded. I couldn't imagine what it must be like in the middle of summer when it's all tourists, but
Right.
yeah, it was just great.
My sister was just in Rome, actually. Just getting back now.
No, I'll tell you, I mean, I love the food in France, but there's
Oh, it was so good.
the
Oh,
best
food
food I've
was-
ever had in my life is
was
in
so good.
Italy. It's so
Oh,
good.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't tell the French that.
Yeah, there's the French like to get out about a few things,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Food
the
is one of
wine
them.
is one of them. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
What else? Oh, yeah. So the weather, though, has proved an issue for Lisa.
Mhm.
I was raised in it, and I don't like it as much as I did as a kid. I was used to bicycling to school in the rain. It's doing your English, England, right?
Yeah.
I don't do it anymore. I don't bicycle in the rain anymore, and it's
Yeah, that's something that I would really advise people who are thinking about making a big move to do is make sure that you go and visit wherever you're looking to settle, not in the peak
time of year. Yeah.
because it's completely different going someplace in the lovely warm weather when the sun doesn't set until almost 11 o'clock at night versus
Yep.
being someplace when it might be 40 degrees day or lower, like when it snowed today.
But
Yeah.
in this case, we handled it by the Spain thing. The Spain thing,
Yeah.
it was manageable cost-wise, right? And it's just brilliant. I mean, the cottage we're sitting in, it's a granite cottage. It's about 1,000 square feet, 2 bedrooms. And the flat down there is more like 500 square feet, maybe 550
Wow.
with a big terrace. But it's big enough. We get to live. We've got our own little spaces. Lisa's kitchen, mine is a little office.
And that's something too that I think a lot of Americans, especially people on the West Coast that deal with the high housing prices, is especially in France and out in the country like we are, it is so affordable. Houses are so affordable.
Yeah.
And for us, we have this adorable little granite cottage, but most of the French prefer the newer, more like prefab kind of houses.
do,
And
they
so
do, yeah.
these old houses can be gotten for a song.
Yeah.
And we've done some remodel. I got
fair
to have
bit.
my kitchen remodeled, so that was lovely. And we've worked on our yard, but it's when we tell our friends, and my family was just here my parents were just here this summer, when they hear what the prices are, I mean, you literally can't get a condo in the middle of nowhere in the States where you can get a lovely house and property. So that's definitely a huge, huge plus
Because we're
for
all
being
fixed
here.
incomes, right? I mean, I've got
we are.
lucky. I got lucky. I got a couple of clients that keep bugging me. But apart from that, it's a fixed income. And so you don't want to set yourself up to be too tightly squeezed
Right.
by your living expenses. Our living
Right.
expenses relative to our pensions are under 20%. Under
Wow.
20%. That's everything but food. Okay. That's
Wow.
insurance.
So are you renting out your Spain place when you're in France and vice versa? No.
No.
Oh.
No, we just they're just empty when we're gone. I
Gotcha.
don't want to get into.
We've got
the
lots
whole-
of personal stuff in each place, and we sort of figured out,
And that's the other piece about things being very affordable. You can't rent things out for much, so it's not worth the risk. And especially in France, there are a lot of laws that are in place to protect
tenants.
That's good.
and employees
Oh,
as
good.
another piece of that. But if you rent out your home to, for example, a family and they have children and something happens and they can't pay your rent, well, you can't. They pretty,
Necessarily kick them out.
yeah, they're pretty much in your house, and
Wow.
it's yeah,
There are
yeah,
exceptions to that, but it's always a risk. It's always a risk.
yeah.
Well, you know, in
Right.
Spain, people move in and they're not paying you. They just move in.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Right.
And they have rights. That's
The mayor of Barcelona encourages them.
Well,
apparently, yes.
yeah. Yeah. So what trivial amount we might be able to get by renting out our place isn't worth the risk. Plus, as Ian said, we are, it's not like we have anything of really any value, but we do
The
have
personal
personal
stuff.
stuff. So
Right.
it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Makes sense.
Right.
Although we
Yes.
do say, for our friends and family, anybody can come and stay.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Right.
So you had a soft entry. You basically had a soft entry because Ian was already there. Ian already been there for 10 years, actually, in country earlier. But what was your experience, Lisa, in terms of the language? Did you know French when you went there?
No, and I am very ashamed to say that I don't work on my French nearly enough. And that is because Ian's fluent and we're kind of joined at the hip. So he,
I do her talking.
yeah. And I've spent a lot of time on Duolingo. I understand
Yeah. Yeah.
my biggest problem is embarrassment. So
That's it. I'm never embarrassed. So I try new languages. I sound stupid. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it does. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
flip side of that is that I have a couple of years of Spanish, and growing up in California, you're surrounded by Spanish all the time. So when
Right.
we're in Spain,
She does more than I do.
and
That's right.
it's amazing how
Huh.
much of the Spanish has come back. And I'm not embarrassed to use my Spanish in Spain, but
Mhm.
for whatever reason, I have a harder time here.
Right.
So
Smaller town.
language.
I noticed in France, people are, maybe in a larger city, people are a little more impatient, but in smaller
They
places,
are.
people are
They're-
very
especially
helpful.
Parisians are awful about it. They're just
Yeah.
awful.
They want to say it, but yeah.
yeah, but I have never got the vibe of the rude Parisian myself. I don't.
Really?
Yeah, I don't
Huh.
do that.
Maybe it's got something to do with the way you look.
Oh, honey, don't be silly. But you're right about the soft landing, and I really was able to come in very, very easily because of Ian. So I think I do have a lot of my friends now have been messaging me and asking about potentially moving and
Mhm.
asking
Yeah.
questions. And I think I know it's a lot harder when you're just coming blindly into another country.
Yeah. And I think there's a difference even too with coming in blindly, but with a partner, as opposed to coming in blindly as a solo person. And that's, I think, the difference between Jeffrey and I is I'm solo, he's got a partner. It's always easier when you have a partner to rely on. Ian, it seems like maybe you probably didn't, you've already been through it, but Lisa, have you had any type of culture shock from having gone from California to?
No,
Rural
Interesting.
France.
no, not at all.
Good question, because
Yeah.
I don't think she has.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
it was completely smooth. I was
Well-
so ready, but I was also very, very ready to make a drastic move because of just situation in my personal life where it
Mhm.
was
Yeah.
a clean break, literally a new life. And
Right.
it's been just
It-
joyous.
It's an attitude thing, though. You got. I mean, you must know this, Michelle. You have to approach it with a sort of, I'm interested. What's going on? You
Yeah.
know, and if you do that, it's great.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's good for your brain. I mean, we all get
Yeah.
worried at our age about things deteriorating. But
Right.
You trying to find your way in a new culture.
Mhm.
Brain's
Mhm.
doing all kinds of work.
Mhm.
Right.
You know,
Mhm.
it
Right.
keeps it active and healthy. I mean, but
Yeah.
Lisa's attitude was really positive ever since she got here. So that helps. You got to have a positive attitude.
That's
Tell
for
people-
sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Be
That's the other
flexible.
Be flexible. There you go.
Right.
And that's
Yes.
the other thing I would caution people who are frustrated with, whatever and want to leave the States, that coming to Europe is not a panacea, and wanting to leave it to escape. People need to have the right attitude, I think, because I think the culture shock could be very, very real, thinking that suddenly I'm going to be in,
Bliss.
yeah.
I mean, if you're
Yeah.
leaving the US because of political reasons. I hate to say it that way, but
Yeah,
there's political issues everywhere. There
absolutely.
are
Yeah.
political issues here that we
Yeah.
find conflict. In England that I
Yeah.
find conflict. I mean, you're not going to avoid in the Netherlands. Look at Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good Lord.
I know.
Oh, yes,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so right. So there, every place has its challenges, but I've never had any second thoughts about being here. It's just been a marvelous experience for me.
Great.
It just occurred to me that your honeymoon phase was your literal honeymoon too.
We're still in it. I hate to get it. We're still in
Right,
it.
right.
It's been nice.
But you did get fed up, I mean, with the winters, right? So what was that process of deciding to go to Spain, and how did you come to that? And then how is it technically, like legally, like taxes and all of that? How are you splitting and tracking all of that?
Well, because we're French residents and we're members of the EU, we don't have to worry about how long we stay, in various
Spain.
places.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that isn't an issue. So we are taxed as
Oh,
non-residents.
yeah. Only in
Mm.
France we effectively tax.
Yeah.
But that's
Okay.
we
Yeah.
haven't yet spent 6 months or more in Spain in any year.
Mhm.
Okay.
Only keeping it that way because the difficulty will be if we do, and we might decide because it's a lot nicer down there, frankly. We
Yeah.
might. The difficulty is we'll have to start redoing taxes and social charges and the like. There's a treaty, for example, between the US and France on social charges, on what you pay to Social Security or its equivalent in France. I know it. I'm familiar with it. I've worked with it. I kind of know which way is up. If we go to Spain, I won't know which way is up. I'll have to learn it all.
Well, and
And
rely
pay
on
lawyers,
professionals.
which it gets to be
right.
expensive. That's the expensive stuff,
But
Right.
another thing that I would add to anybody who is considering moving to France, in particular, if they have blended families, that France has very
Yeah.
non-negotiable inheritance
Yeah.
rules
Oh, really?
where you
Yeah.
can't make a will and say I
Under
want
California law.
right. It's all French law, and
Oh,
it absolutely, unless something very much changes, which it hasn't in 300 years, it's very difficult. And that actually is one of the reasons why we are kind of considering becoming Spanish residents rather than French, because it's very complicated.
I'm surprised how clear a lot of things are. I'd heard about all the red tape, and I have great attorneys, so that really helps. But
Yes, it does.
but I think things function pretty well.
Yeah.
What is the rule for France? How long do you have to be in the country to be still considered the resident? A year? Is it? Do you have like a
Over
rule?
6 months, basically. Everywhere's over 6 months, basically. If you want a
Okay.
simple, so if you want to be in a Spanish resident, you'd have to take steps, but you'd have to be there over 6 months a year.
okay.
Then you'd have to go to France and say, "Look, we're no longer resident here. You can't
Right.
tax.
Right. Right. Okay.
This is now our second home."
Right.
You can't-
Which is
Right.
another kind of hairy thing, because that's one of the things that they are trying to change in the French tax system is to,
Taxation of second homes.
to penalize
Um,
second homes, non-citizen second homes.
So that's sort of
Right.
always in the air. You have to get used to that. Just as
right.
used to it in the United States, where it was whatever state you were in had its own balls in the air. In
Yes.
Europe, your other balls, and they're
Yeah.
complex. They are.
I mean, you kind of get it. I mean, I know in Spain there's Americans that, I own 5 homes because it's like you bought 5 homes. Like, because they're renting them out. I'm like, you wonder why people are tense? That's might be why.
Yeah.
So you own both of your places. What was that process of buying in France and then in Spain? How was that comparable to the U.S. or?
You go through, lawyers of different types. In France, it has to be done through a notary, as in Spain. A notary is not a notary public that you'd say in the U.S. It's a real estate attorney, basically, a special protected profession. And what happens when professions are protected? They get dumb. So We've had bad stories here of expats who've lost out in
Oh,
real estate transactions.
Oh,
not
no.
not us personally,
Not us,
but you do have to be careful about. We had some friends who had been here for about a decade, and they were having some health issues and decided to move back to the UK, and had an offer on their home here in France and already bought a new place in the UK, and then the deal fell through here, and they lost a ton of money in the UK as well. So you
Oh,
need to be
geez.
careful about
Yeah.
timing issues, about what you're doing.
But it's common sense stuff. It's you should know that. You should know not to put
Right.
money until you.
But when we
Right.
bought the little place in Spain, it was very, very easy. We looked at a number of places. We're actually in a little golf resort.
Oh,
So-
nice. Yeah.
Right.
Neither of us play.
But it's lovely. And we looked at a number of places. We chose one in a weekend, put an offer in, it was accepted, and it was
Boom. Yeah.
about 45 days later.
Yeah. It was
But-
October 30th it closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was September, and then
Boom.
the deal closed at the end of October, and then that was it. So that was really easy.
Yeah.
Did you
This
find
then.
a buyer's agent there? Did you have, it's interesting in Spain, they don't really have inspections and they don't have
No.
buyer's agents. And you're like, wait, I
No.
don't have either of those. Okay, what do I do? So was it similar in France, the process to the US, or?
I didn't have an agent actually at all. No tears offices sometimes have sort of bulletin boards outside
Mhm.
behind glass. And that's how I found this place. It wasn't listed with any agent. And now, what happened with my place was that there was a delay because one of the sellers was a minor in a French overseas territory.
What? Okay.
So
It sounds like an inheritance. That was an
it
inheritance
was an
thing,
inheritance
right?
thing. I was buying it off an
Yeah.
inheritance. And
Okay.
so that had to go through a probate court to protect the minor, and then it had to come up. And I basically ended up waiting 2 months for the closing,
Hmm.
which was.
Ah.
But friends in Paris
not too
loaned me
bad.
a flat, so I was able to. But it was still annoying.
Yeah, that's another thing that it has been really easy. Ian, having lived here for a decade and still having friends, in particular, some friends that live in Paris that have a studio that they.
Oh yeah.
Let's say-
We spent a week in Paris at the Olympics, right?
Mhm.
Nice.
With Lisa's parents, 83
Ah.
with Lisa's parents,
Wow.
and we were able to, normally we borrow this flat we gave them
Sometimes.
€100 a night for the four of us.
Yeah.
That's great.
Nice.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
that's one of the things too. There's so many opportunities that we have available to us here that just wouldn't be the same if I was still in the States.
Mhm.
And the number one thing really is the travel. But even having been able to go to the Olympics this summer, which, was not inexpensive, but it
Mhm.
would have been absolutely.
Yeah, very difficult
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Santa Cruz. Very difficult.
Right.
So,
The
Right,
next
right.
one is Los Angeles. Watch out.
Right.
Hey there, just a reminder that you can learn more about moving to Europe at livingabroadacademy.com.
Sign up for our newsletter and stay up to date on our latest podcasts, events, and more.
You can also submit questions and ideas for future podcasts on the website.
We appreciate you being a part of our community. Thanks again for joining us.
And now, back to the show. So one thing I wanted to ask, it sounds like, Ian, that you sort of had to do it yourself. Like, did you handle the immigration process yourself, or did you guys have support?
No, we handled it in France. We found a lawyer,
Okay.
a good immigration
Now,
lawyer
was it
whose name
your-
I'd give anybody.
Yeah.
actually, who-
Now, you were already a resident. You didn't have to do anything special,
Well,
did you? You had
No,
to
but I
renew
still
or
engaged a
something.
lawyer because Brexit. See, so
Oh, right.
I was a resident as a British citizen.
Right.
So I've got dual. I've got British and American. So that was changing when I got here, and so I did retain a lawyer just to be safe.
That's
Why?
smart.
Right.
Yes.
It wasn't a lot. It was like €1,000 or something, and he just sort of helped me walk through it. And
Mhm.
but yes, it really is a lot easier if you have experience.
Mhm.
people, well, when they research, they shouldn't just research where they want to go.
Mhm.
They really, based on environment or facilities or sites, they also really have to look at the law around it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's easier also if you know the language and if you have training as a lawyer yourself, right?
Well, and even I had 10 years practicing in Paris, right? So I
Yeah.
mean,
There you
Right.
go.
it was corporate law,
Right.
but still you get notions of the other stuff.
Mhm.
Right.
That's very
Right.
helpful. So you do a lot. Were there any other resources you used? And maybe with Spain, right? How did you decide? Was it Murcia? How did you decide where you wanted to be? Not only the country, but where in the country?
This is really goofy. Here's another goofy story. So Ian is a train buff, right? He loves trains. So ever
Oh,
since he was
train. Okay.
a train spotter, yada yada. So when he retired, he bought a toy train. I'm sorry, a model train.
Yeah, right.
And he had it in his office on this big board and stuff. And he had envisioned that it was going to be this great thing he was going to play with, right? And it was going to have like mountains and little people and stuff. And he just never.
No, here's why. It wasn't just that I lost interest. I was expecting in the digital era for it to work digitally well, and it didn't. It didn't.
Ah.
For some reason, the manufacturers just haven't caught up with Silicon Valley. You have these chips that just didn't allow you to do what I wanted to do.
Well, so anyway, he got frustrated. Lovely man doesn't have a whole lot of patience. And he got really frustrated with his toy train and decided he was going to sell it. And
This was our research.
yeah. So he found another
Buyer.
Brit, a buyer who lives in Normandy, and wanted to buy Ian's train. So they met kind of halfway, a really nice couple. And in conversation, Ian was telling him that, I
We
was
needed to
American,
find some warmth.
that I was American, and my only issue was the fact that I couldn't deal with the cold. And he and his wife had just, they had bought this place in this golf resort. He said, "Oh, here, you guys should go down there and check this place out." And here's the name of the agent who helped us. And so anyway, that's how
what we
we
did.
ended up getting our place in Spain, is through Ian's trains.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
So no exploratory trips,
No,
no.
we didn't even know. We absolutely had no plans on like ever doing this. And we had
Lisa
came
has a
into-
cousin in Madrid, so we were aware that we
I've been
had
to
Okay.
Spain.
to
Yeah.
head back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we had, we came into just a little bit of money, and we're trying to look at, figuring out whether to invest it or what to do. And because we like to travel so much, we knew we'd just fritter it away if we,
That's the trouble.
Right.
When it comes in, we spend it.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So then, we had this little bit of money, and David is this fellow's name. He said, "Oh, you should just go down there." We decided to take a little trip to check it out. And then we ended up,
we made the offer at the end of that week.
Yeah.
literally.
So we drove down to southern Spain. That we stopped in Barcelona.
Yes.
It was
Remember that.
beautiful. Rode our bikes along the beach, spent a couple of days, and went down there, put the offer on the place, and the rest is history. And each time that we've gone, we've loved it more. I mean,
Yeah.
Like the weather down there today was
Yeah.
74. Here it was 38.
Sounds
Right.
great. We're going down there to explore in March, and that area, Murcia, Cartagena, it's amazing properties down there. It looks, and farther over on the Costa del Sol, Malaga and Marbella, it's beautiful.
we were just in Malaga.
Really, did you like it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was just fantastic.
It's
So
lovely.
that's when we first got our little place. The first couple of times, we spent most of our time in
Local area.
IKEA and Leroy Maryland and all those places, like, just trying to fix it up and make it our own. And it's the last.
El Corte Inglés too.
Yeah, it's a lovely little
Oh,
place.
yeah.
But since the last, especially the last time we went down there, we don't have to do anything anymore, so we can just
It's set up. Yeah.
enjoy ourselves. And so we've been taking a lot of just little day trips with, like I feel like I'm my mom and dad, like, "Oh, let's go on a little Sunday drive." And, we go an hour and a half out and go explore little towns and castles and stuff like that. So
I
it's
like the castles. It's
Yeah.
very there's a
Yeah.
lot of lovely castles.
Castile.
A lot of
Castile.
castles.
Very
Those,
nice.
those Moorish castles, they last.
Oh
They're
man.
all over the landscape. Yeah.
Yeah.
They are, yeah.
So you both seem very healthy. Have you had to use the healthcare system in France or Spain yet? What's that like?
We're in France. We have, yeah. We're both participants in the medical insurance here.
It's great. It's just fantastic. That's another real bonus about being here. In fact, I was talking to my daughter and I was telling her something about the healthcare, and I couldn't believe that we had to, we paid, I don't know, 18 euro for something I'd gone to. And I was telling her, I feel really guilty. I mean, I'm, here.
Don't feel guilty, honey. When I lived
Yeah.
I belong to that.
Because I said, I haven't put anything into the system. This should really go to the French citizens. And how can they do this? And my daughter said, she tells me, it's because it's a civilized country.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Civilization.
right.
Yeah, I hate to say that. Yeah.
Right.
But we've been very, I
That was
know,
cute.
we've been very,
An example. I had a crown fall out in Rome.
Mhm.
So I went to see my dentist here on return, and she put a temporary, glued it back in, sort of thing, called it a temporary.
yeah.
I have to get an appointment in January to get it replaced. 23 euro.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've had little minor things happen, and our little local GP is 5 minutes away, and we can get an appointment within
they're pretty
a
good.
day or a couple of days.
Wow.
Right.
Specialists
Wow.
Yeah, specialists are more difficult, but knock wood, we haven't had to
need
do
to
that.
really.
But we do have friends who have needed more extensive healthcare and just completely have raved about how quickly and inexpensively and thoroughly they've been taken care of, even with some
Cancer
experts.
sufferers are really
Wow.
well taken.
Yeah.
Do you pay a monthly fee for that?
No,
Well,
Wow.
yes and no. What we do pay is
not supplemental. We don't have supplemental.
yeah. What we do pay is out of I have a French pension because I worked here 10 years.
Right.
Out of that, they withhold about 10%, which is towards social charges. So
Mhm.
I don't know how much of that is allocated to health. Probably not much, but we do pay a little bit, and we
Okay.
pay taxes here. We pay.
Yeah.
How much taxes? Maybe 1,500 a year in taxes or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I've been hearing not great things about the Netherlands. Like you can't get an appointment with a GP because there's not enough of them. So
Yeah, in Spain with insurance, it can take, especially the popular plans that are a little cheaper, it can take a few weeks to get an appointment. But I'm not using insurance. It's totally affordable without insurance, and I get an appointment in a few days. It's quick. Yeah,
Yeah,
And they have reasonable prices too, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Out of pocket are essentially what my copays were here with insurance. That was quite expensive.
Wow.
Yeah, I had a lot, insurance was
1,000 a
virtually
month. I was paying 1,000.
virtually unaffordable. My
Right.
last corporate position, my employer paid 100% of my health plan and half for family, and I still paid $1,500 a month for
Yeah.
that with huge deductibles. So
Yeah.
you prayed that nothing bad would happen to
Right.
you. So here it's we've been very lucky, and again, like I said,
I need a dermatologist periodically, and that's been a problem. Like we can't find one out here.
Ah.
To Paris twice, right?
yeah.
And then
It was
now
like, darn, we had to make a little trip to Paris.
Oh well.
Yeah. So again, I mean, the specialists are more difficult, and I think that they do have a hierarchy. If you've got something serious, then they'll move you up the ladder.
Yeah,
But if you're
nice.
just trying to get, being a Californian and having spent way too much time in the sun, I'm used to going to the dermatologist once a year
Mhm.
for them just to
Gotcha.
check
burn
and
stuff
burn
off.
stuff off. And
Yeah.
they do less of that here. So, it's the same thing with dentistry. If you're an American, you're used to going twice a year and getting your teeth cleaned. And,
Check.
the dentist they don't do that here. You have to, and the dentist does
Mhm.
everything. So there are no assistants or hygienists or whatever. And they look at you a little askew and you're like, well, should I come back in 6 months to get my
Yeah.
teeth cleaned? You're like, well, what
What?
for? So
Well, it sounds like you have a very international family. So visiting you, you visiting them is not an issue. You stay pretty connected. What about long term, though? Are you planning to like stay there until the very end? You're all in on France or Spain.
We've been talking about that actually. I mean, it all depends how we do. I would, if Lisa goes first, to be honest, I probably would not stay here unless I've got kids around here. I got 4 sons. So I would somehow want to be near whichever of them has a grandchild.
Right, right.
That's what I would want. And I think you feel somewhat similarly. Right?
Yeah. Now, my daughter, I have 3 granddaughters, and my daughter has over the years talked about moving abroad with the family. She's quite well traveled. She spent a year abroad in England back when a year was a full year, not a quarter or semester. And she's fluent in French and has talked about coming. And if she and the kids came here, then for sure I would stay. But if I were alone, unless I really got up to speed with the language, it would be really hard. But I might be okay with being in Spain.
Yes.
That's the only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of English speakers down there too. So
There you go.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say this,
oh, but you
but
speak Spanish.
too
Yeah.
many.
Too many. There you go. Yeah. I know what you mean.
Well, that's one thing that we really, when we were in Malaga, it was so nice not to hear French. No, I mean, I love the expats, but that's one thing about where we are in our golf resort. It's probably, I don't
There's a lot
know.
of English golfers there.
Yeah.
Ah.
Well, what about in Brittany? Like, how integrated are you with the locals besides your expat group? How integrated are you with the French?
Not very.
Well, our neighbor,
Our neighbor.
is
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
He's been a great resource and friend, and he takes care of our place when we're gone. So that's really nice.
That's sort of interesting because I do think a downside of all our travel is that we're not in that one place very long all the time. We're going to be here until January, so 2 months. Then we're going to go down to Spain for 2 months, and that's about as far as we've planned. But the French here are very nice, but we haven't done anything to try to hang with them. What you're supposed to do is join associations of your interests, right?
Though we
tried medieval dance.
We did. We went. It was so cute because we live
But
near.
we're terrible dances.
Well, speak for yourself. We we live next to the most adorable medieval town called Dinan. It's a walled city. It's just I fell in love with this little town, and it's cobblestone streets. It's like a picture book. It's really lovely.
It's extraordinary.
And we did go in the fall. They have an open house where they have associations where you can, join different clubs. And we actually I was looking for a track club. I've been wanting to do master's track, and I thought maybe I could hook up with some runners, and it would also force me to, speak a little and
Right.
stuff. And we didn't find that, but we got hooked into this medieval dance group, and it was really super fun.
It was lots of fun, but then we
we
were traveling.
But then
we missed, sessions, and so we missed the steps they did, and we were trying to, it was hard.
Yeah,
If you got a video of that, we'd love to see it. We won't post it online, but it would just be.
We went to a ball and we're dressed in,
Okay. Wow.
Wow.
So, yeah, I miss that and it was lovely because when we were in the dance class, the instructor spoke, his English was okay.
Yeah, not bad.
But nobody else in the group spoke English. And so they really forced me to, to speak. So I had to pay attention and know what was right and left and up and down and stuff with the steps. And I miss that. And that was, that is a downside about doing a lot of travel is that we, had an interruption of what might have been a smoother integration.
Yeah.
Nice.
So earlier you mentioned you wish you had visited in the winter in France, Lisa. And I guess there's always something, right? And if you had the chance to do the move again, what things would you do differently? To be helpful advice for other people. Like, is there anything you would? And it sounds like things went smoothly, but is there anything that you wish you had done differently?
I have to say that I had the easiest
Oh, great.
transition because Ian really loves to take care of things. And
And her. I like to take care of
really, I have to say that, I went from doing everything in my life practically myself and having to organize everything and manage everything. And then suddenly Ian came along and he's really, really good at that kind of stuff. And it was kind of hard at first to let go of some of the control stuff, but you just made it so easy.
Yeah.
So, and I knew,
Yeah.
and Ian and I have always had a really strong connection. So it just felt right to be here. So yeah, the weather, the weather bit did come as a shock to me. And
Mhm.
I made the comment about coming at different times of year
Mhm.
more for other people's benefit, because
Mhm.
even if I had been here and the weather had been like it is now, I still would have come.
Nice.
And it wasn't a game changer. It just would have been less shocking.
And I would mention, if you're thinking of moving to Spain, go in August. Just go in August.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Or July.
Or July.
July is just
July.
bad.
July was horrible.
Make sure the
That's
AC goes up all the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Now that's the difference between Ian and I too, is that I can tolerate the heat much better than he can.
Yeah,
He gets really uncomfortable, and he can tolerate the cold better than me. So
Wow.
Right.
yeah.
That's good. So it doesn't sound like you've had that. And I will say that we had it in Spain, that moment we were like, did we make the right decision? We
Yeah.
definitely had that, maybe more than once, had a couple of those moments, but it sounds like you guys have been,
Yeah, we sort
really
of
positive.
achieved it in that because of my familiarity with the place.
Mhm.
Not only had I worked in Paris, but I'd spent school holidays and in this area, so I knew it. I mean,
Mhm.
I knew San Malo is where I knew. I just love San Malo, and
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
Yeah,
Nice.
that reminds me. Yeah, so Ian, when he came here, you wanted to be by San Malo, right? So, which is right on on the Atlantic, which is lovely. And coming from Santa Cruz, having a body of water nearby is really important. But the other piece is that, like the train line,
we're 2 hours from Paris
yeah,
by fast
on
train
the
by
train.
TGV.
Wow.
That's tough.
So
Come on,
That's right.
we can go there and back in a day. We don't, but we
that's a bit
could.
much.
Right.
But for me, one of my favorite things is live music, is music of all sorts. And I grew up in the Bay Area, when I was a teenager, I went to 55 concerts in one year. So I'm all about live music. Santa Cruz had a great music scene, and coming out here and kind of being in the boondocks, that was a bit of a culture shock.
We go to London and Paris for concerts easily.
Yeah,
Nice.
Nice.
Guess who we're seeing within 2 weeks in Paris? Sir Paul McCartney.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Amazing.
So that's another thing too that I would advise people to think about what they're really passionate about, and make
Mhm.
sure that they're in a location where their passions can be fed, at least without too much expense or
Mhm.
travel. So for us, a couple of hours on the train is great. So, we've gone to actually a lot of concerts, and, of course, Paris is Paris. So there's
Mhm.
museums and food and everything. And so that's, when we're starting to feel a little bit country bumpkinish, then we can, jump on the train and be able
Yeah,
to
I
do
think
that.
I think that's a good point actually for people who do come to Europe. It because of pricing, and because of wanting to be more quiet in retirement. People tend to go into rural areas.
Mhm.
You've got to be able to get out.
Mhm.
Right, right.
Yeah, it's important to know your priorities. It sounds like you thought about that. Yes.
Yeah, we went. Yeah, we did.
You know, as much as we travel, I am a bit of a homebody. So, you know, I don't mind staying in the house and having a book or
She's
going
an
out
introvert, actually. She
or going out. And I love having the garden and,
Yeah.
you know, and doing that. So that's another nice thing about being in a rural place and having a bit of land is that you can go and, you know, get your hands dirty in the,
Yeah.
you know, in the dirt, which for me is really
That's nice.
And the last thing that I will say that I found so wonderful about being in Europe is that people really do have so much better life balance here.
Mhm.
Whether it's, you know, work is just something that you do, it isn't all consuming, especially in Spain when people literally
Yes.
shut down for 3 hours in the day,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
feel- but it's real, you know, at first we used to
Complain about the shops not being
Yeah,
open.
the
Oh,
shop-
yet.
or-
me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
being used to the whole 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
But now it's so nice to see people have lives. I mean,
Yeah.
why should you go grocery shopping at 11:30 at night? Why can't you
Right.
do it in the day or whatever? So I think that especially if you've had a very busy and hectic career, it is a little bit shocking to the system to see how much slower paced things are,
Mhm.
but
It's nice.
it's easy to ease into it.
Yeah. Right.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. I think for Americans, it is like eye-opening.
It is.
Like,
yeah.
why did we live like that? Why?
Yeah, I mean, no, you can hit the pause button. You don't have to be going all the time, and
No.
it can make you feel a little. I feel a little awkward when I'm there sometimes. That I got to do something. I'm not productive today. Okay, I'm not working, but I could go to buy some new drapes. You know, and you're like, no, you know, just relax. That's okay.
That's me. That's me, Jeffrey. I
Yeah.
get itchy. I want to do errands. I want to find things to do. You know, that's-
Productivity. Yeah. All right, Lisa
That
and
was
Ian,
fun.
thank you so much. Oh,
Yeah, it
Thank
was
you.
great.
It was
Enjoyed it.
fun.
This has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to have you back sometime soon to hear the updates, right? To hear how your
Absolutely.
multi-country experience is going. Maybe you'll add a third country.
I don't know. When
We'll see.
when we were in Rome, Ian's like, well, maybe we should think about getting a place in Italy.
Yes, there you go. We want to hear about that. So we wish you wonderful times ahead, a great new year ahead.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Happy holidays to
You
both
too.
of you.
Nice meeting
Yeah.
you.
Happy holidays.